Revision test number 2, question 1. A. The following are the movements of inventory of Maximin Sanjamberhat in January 2020. So these are the given figures, and we are required to calculate the value of purchases, cost of sales, and closing inventory using the weighted average method, WAC method. B. Prepare Maximin Sanjamberhat's trading account for the month ended 31st January 2020. All right. I went back to my inventory tutorial questions, the answers that I gave you, and I copied one of the formats, or rather I copied the format from one of the tutorial questions, and that's what you should do too. So you need to get ready your inventory tutorial Excel file, put them in a folder where you can find it easily, so that on that day, on the exam day, if there's such a question that comes out, then you can quickly go to that folder to get your spreadsheet out so that you can copy the format, and that will save you a lot of time. And that's what I've done. So I'm cheating a little bit because I don't want to make this this video too long. So I've got all the format laid out. So the important thing is for me to show you how to calculate the figures. All right. So I hope you don't mind that I cheat a little bit. All right, now 1st of January, the opening balance of the inventory is 2 units, and the unit cost is 1,500 ringgit, 1500. Okay, I'm cheating a little bit. I've got the formulas built in there to save time. Okay, and then, well, okay, the total cost is 2 units multiplied by the unit cost equals 3,000. Now on 5th of January we bought 5 units, so bought 5 units at what costs? At 1550. So the total cost of the purchases on 5th of January is 7,750. So that's 5 units multiplied by 1550. So the total quantity we have in inventory is 7 units. And the total cost of the 7 units is 10,750 ringgit. So what is the weighted average cost? We are asked to use the WAC method. So the weighted average cost is the total cost divided by the total quantity. So equals 10750 divided by 7. So that is my WAC, my weighted average cost. On 11th of January, I sold 3 units. So we sold 3 units minus 3. All right, minus 3. And again, my formula automatically works out the cost of goods sold. Now the 4607.14 is 3 units multiplied by the weighted average cost of 1535.714, which is this one. Alright, so if I want to show you the working, I will do this. So I will copy this weighted average cost down here, and then I would use 3 units multiplied by this weighted average cost, and that would give me 4,607 ringgit and 14 cents. So now I've got a closing inventory of 4 units with a total cost of 6142.86. So what is the average unit cost of these 4 units? And it is the total cost divided by the closing inventory quantity, which is 4 units. So that gives me the weighted average cost of 1535.714, which is equal to these 2 figures above. Right. Now on 14th of January, 4 units were bought, so 4 units. And what is the purchase price? It is 1750 per unit, 1750 per unit. And the total cost of the purchase of these 4 units is 7,000 ringgit, which is 4 units purchased multiplied by the purchase price of 1750, and that gives me 7,000 ringgit. The total cost of this new 4 units purchased. So now in my inventory, I've got a total quantity of 8 units and a total cost of 13,142 ringgit and 86 cents. So what is the average cost? What is the weighted average cost then of these 8 units? Then it is the total cost divided by the total quantity. Okay, so we get our weighted average cost of 1642.86. On 21st of January, we sold 2 units. So minus 2. And what is the cost that we should use? We should use the weighted average cost to work out the cost of goods sold of these 2 units. And therefore, we use this figure, which is the weighted average cost of the 8 units. And therefore, my cost of goods sold of these 2 units is 2 units multiplied by the weighted average cost gives me 3285.71. So now I'm left with 6 units in the inventory with a total cost of 9857.14. Now, what is the weighted average cost of these 6 units? It's easy. It's equal to the total cost divided by 6, which is 1642.857, which is equal to these 2 figures above. All right. Now, on the 28th of January, we sold 3 units. So minus 3. So what is the cost of goods sold? What is the cost per unit sold? Well, we just use the weighted average cost here, this one. Right. And therefore, it is equal to the cost of goods sold of these 3 units is 4928.57, which is 3 units sold multiplied by the weighted average cost gives me 4928.57. Now I'm left with 3 units in the inventory, and this is my closing inventory with a total cost of 4928.57. So what is the weighted average cost of these 3 units? It is equal to the total cost divided by the closing inventory quantity equals to 1642.857, which is equal to these figures above here. All right. So this is quite straightforward. Now the question asks us to calculate the value of purchases, cost of sales, and closing inventory. So I've got the closing inventory here. So I would just indicate the cost of purchases here by the side of the figures. So now we have purchased 5 units, purchase of 5 units here. So the 7750 is the cost of purchases. So I would just type the word purchases. And this 4607.14 is the cost of goods sold. So I'll just type COGS there. And I've got some more purchases on the 14th of January. The purchase cost of 4 units is 7,000 ringgit. So I type purchases here to indicate the value of the purchases. And I sold 2 units on the 21st of January. So this is the cost of goods sold. So I type COGS here. And another cost of goods sold here. Alright, so therefore I have adequately answered question part A of question 1. Next, we are asked to prepare the trading account for the month of January, ended 31st January 2020 of Maximin Sdn Bhd. Now, if you use my format, then remember at the top here, write down trading account for the month ended 31st January 2020. So these are the costs. I've got the cost of goods sold column here, so I just copy the cost of goods sold from the table here. So this is the cost of goods sold, cost of goods sold, cost of goods sold. I just copy them over here. Then I work out the sales revenue. Now these 3 units sold on 11th of January, what is the selling price? The selling price is 3,000 per unit. So 3,000, okay. 3,000 ringgit per unit. And okay, I cheat a little bit. I've got my formula in this cell already, so automatically it's worked out the total sales revenue as 9,000 ringgit, which is 3 units multiplied by 3,000 ringgit each, so 9,000. All right. Then next, the selling price on 21st of January is 3,100. So perhaps I should delete the formulas there. Okay, 3,100. So how many units did I sell? Or were sold 2 units. So it's equal to 2 multiplied by 3,100, and that's my total sales revenue. And the last sale is 3 units at 3150 unit selling price. Alright, so therefore equals to 3150 multiplied by 3 units here, 3 units, and that gives me the total sales revenue for that sale of 9450. So I added up these three figures, I get total sales of so much. So total sales minus total cost of goods sold gives me total gross profit, which is 11828.57. Right, I've got a gross profit here. So in my layout, in my format, I have the gross profit of each transaction, each sale calculated. So I can make sure that my figure here is correct. These three figures added up should be equal to this figure, 24650 minus 12821.43. So meaning either I added the figures up vertically or I added up the figures horizontally, I will get the same figure. Now if you don't want to use my table there, fine, we'll just do it this way. You say, okay, Maximin Sanjambraha trading account for the month ended 31st January 2020. Now, it is important for you to write down the heading. I looked at the marking scheme. Sometimes the examiner gives marks for the title of your results. So now I often do this in my tutorial lessons with you, and I kept reminding you that you should put down the company's name and the title of your results, what the statements, what you're preparing. So you're preparing the trading account, so write down trading account for the month ended 31st January 2020. Now sales, how much is the sales? So we've got to do some workings. All right, do the workings down here. All right, sales revenue is equal to, right, we can pick the figures up. Alright, okay, instead of scrolling the spreadsheet up and down, we'll just pick up the figures from the table here. So 3 units multiplied by 3,000, 3 units multiplied by 3,000, plus 2 units multiplied by 3100, 2 units multiplied by 3100, plus 3 units multiplied by 3150, 3 units multiplied by 3150. And that is equal to, and then I can work out the total here, equals to 3 multiplied by 3,000 plus 2 multiplied by 3100 plus 3 multiplied by 3150, which is 24650. So I'll just insert the figure here, 24650. Now it is important for us to indicate our workings, W1 here. Alright. Now cost of goods sold, again we've got to do some simple addition. We've got to add up these three figures, all right, and show them in workings 2. All right, so I'm going to add up this figure here, 4607.14, 4607.14 plus 3285.71, 3285, whoop, sorry. 3285.71 plus here 4928.57, 4928.57. Okay, which is equal to 4607.14 plus 3285.71 plus 4928.57, which is 12821.42, right, minus 12821.42. So that gives me gross profit. Sales minus cost of goods sold gives me gross profit of 1182.58. So this is the answer for part B. And so we've completed part A, max-min of question 1. Now let's do part B, KSL Enterprise. What are we required to do? We are required to prepare the journal entries without narratives, meaning there's no need for us to explain the journal entries, to correct the above errors. B. Prepare the suspense accounts. Okay, the trial balance of KSL Enterprise is as at 31st January 2020 showed a difference of 5700 more on the credit side, which was posted to a suspense account. Okay, the trial balance doesn't balance. The credit side, the credit total of the trial balance is more than the debit side of the trial balance, because it says it shows a difference, or it showed a difference of 5,700 ringgit more on the credit side. So the total of the credit side is more than the total of the debit column of the trial balance. So the trial balance doesn't balance. Okay, now it's just a bit of revision of suspense account. So I was always saying when I was doing the tutorial with you, when the trial balance doesn't balance, we will deliberately balance the trial balance. How? By inserting the balancing figure, by inserting the difference. So in this case, the difference is 5,700 ringgit. And so therefore, we will insert 5,700 ringgit on the debit side, or on the debit column of the trial balance, because in this case the total of the debit column is less than the total of the credit column. So therefore we need to put the 5,700 ringgit in the debit column in order to balance the debit total and the credit total. So, and I was also emphasizing that this balancing figure is recorded in the suspense account. All right. And this figure, this balancing figure, is rather represents errors somewhere in the accounts, and we've got to investigate them. And this is the results of the investigation. The following errors were subsequently discovered. Number 1. Sales of 396 ringgit to Selama Enterprise have been debited to Selamba Enterprise. So we ask ourselves a question. Does this error cause the trial balance to be out of balance? The answer is no. Remember what I said in the tutorials. I said as long as there is a debit entry and a credit entry, and the debit total equals the credit total, then the trial balance balances. In this case, the 396 ringgit sales, well, obviously Selama Enterprise is a trade receivable, so it's been debited to. Now this sale was made to Selama Enterprise. It should be debited to Selama Enterprise, but instead it has been debited to Selamba Enterprise. So is there a debit entry? Yes. Is there a credit entry? Yes. Is the debit total equals the credit total? Yes. And therefore error number 1 doesn't affect the trial balance. Therefore error number 1 has nothing to do with the suspense account. All right. The suspense account only records those errors that cause the trial balance to be out of balance. Error number 1 doesn't affect the trial balance at all. Now the problem in error number 1 is that this 396 ringgit has been debited to the wrong account. So this sort of error doesn't cause that trial balance to be out of balance. So therefore this 396 ringgit has nothing to do with the suspense account. Therefore our journal entry will not involve the suspense account. Okay, let's do our journal entry. Number 1, it is okay. So we'll just have to transfer this 396 ringgit to the correct account. So the correct account, Salama Enterprise, so we need to debit this account. Trade receivable, Salama, all right, 396. And we've got to transfer the amount from the wrong account. Trade receivable, Salamba. We credit that because it's been debited to Salamba, so now we want to take it out, so we credit Salamba 396. Okay, there's no need to include any narrative, so we'll just leave it like this. All right, and number 2, error number 2, 886 ringgit received for interest on fixed deposit has been entered to the debit side of interest income account as 868 ringgit. Now, the correct double entry for this is, well, this is income. This is a fixed deposit interest earned from the bank, right? So you earn the fixed deposit interest, so this is your income. So the correct double entry is you debit your cash book and credit interest income account. So debit, we should, by right, we should debit the bank account and credit the interest income account. So what's happened here? 886 ringgit has been entered to the debit side of the interest income account. All right, that is wrong. So there are 2 debit entries instead of 1 debit entry. So what has happened is this: debit cash book with 886 and then debit the interest income account. There's a second error. Instead of entering 886 ringgit, it was entered as 868 ringgit. So there are 2 errors here. Number 1, it has been recorded on the wrong side of the interest income account. It should be credited to the interest income account, but instead it is debited to the interest income account. That's one mistake. Number 2, the wrong figure is used. Instead of 886, it is entered as 868. So does this error, or do these 2 errors, cause the trial balance to be out of balance? The answer is yes, because first error is that there is no double entry. There are 2 debit entries. There are 2 debit entries, no credit entry. All right, so therefore that causes the trial balance to be out of balance. So the second error is that the amount was the debit amount. I mean, there are 2 debit amounts and they are not the same. Okay, right. So how should we correct it? First of all, we've got to transfer this 886 to the correct account, correct side of the account. All right, or maybe we should do this. This is the wrong figure, 868. Let's cancel it. All right. So what's happened is, okay, let's do some workings. So we have done this. We received 886 with debit bank. All right. Now instead of crediting the interest income account, we debited the interest income account. So interest income bank 868. So since this entry is wrong, not only it is wrong because it is entered on the wrong side of the T accounts, the amount is also wrong. So this figure is a total rubbish. So therefore, let's cancel it. So in order to cancel it, we enter a credit entry here. All right. So we cancel this one. Cancel this amount already. So where's the debit? The debit obviously goes to the suspense account. Why? Because error number 2 causes the trial balance to be out of balance. And when that happens, the error is recorded in the suspense account. So therefore, when we do the corrections, we have to involve the suspense account. So we say entry number 1, suspense account. And here, this is interest income 868. Alright. Next, we've got to record or enter the correct amount on the correct side of the interest income. So if we have done it correctly, we would have debited bank account with 886 and credit the interest income account with 886. Alright, so now we credit the interest income account 886, whereas the debit is on the debit side of the interest income account, the suspense account, sorry. So to interest income 886, and this one to suspense account. And our suspense account balance brought down is, we say, this difference is recorded on the debit side of the suspense account. So let's record it first, 5700. Okay, so therefore our journal entry is, there are two pairs of journal entries here. So first is debit suspense account with 868, credit interest income with 868, and then the second pair is, the second double entry is the same except that the amount is different. All right. So what we have to do is, so we debit suspense account, the wrong amount 868, and credit interest income 868. So we get rid of the wrong figure, and then now we enter the correct figure, suspense account 886 and interest income 886. Okay. Journal entry number 3. Error number 3. The return inwards journal has been overcast by 3,000 ringgit. I think by now you will expect, or you have expected, that I will pull out your L3 lecture notes. So indeed, yes, I've got the L3 lecture notes here to refer to the returns inwards journal, just to show you, to let you see more clearly where the double entries go. So again, in order to save time when you're doing your exam, please get ready your lecture note L3. Put them in a folder where you can find it easily. So if you need to pull it out to refer to during the exam, then you don't have to waste a lot of time looking for this particular file. All right. And okay, now the returns inwards journal is like this. You've got it is just like the purchase journal or the sales journal. All right. So you've got the individual returns from the returns from the individual customers. These represent goods returned by the customers for whatever reasons. Maybe they're not satisfied with the goods. Maybe the goods were damaged. Maybe the wrong goods were sent to them. Right? They return the goods to you, to the seller. So in this case, this 45 ringgit was returned by Ali, so it is credited to Ali's account, and 18 ringgit was returned by Baba, so it is credited to Baba's account. But the total 63 is debited to the returns inwards account. Right. Error 3 says the returns inwards journal has been overcast by 3,000 ringgit. So it means the total has been overstated by 3,000 ringgit. So the total is wrong. Therefore, the returns inwards account is wrong. The debit in the returns inwards account is wrong, overstated. But the credit entries are correct because the individual returns, the individual return inwards documents have been correctly posted to the individual customer's account. So let's ask the question, do we have a debit entry and a credit entry? The answer is yes. We have the total debited to the returns inwards account, and the individual returns are credited to the individual customer's account. Of course, when they were added up, the credit side should be equal to the debit side. So the next question is the debit total equals the credit total? In this case, the answer is no. Right, the debit total is more than the credit total by 3,000 ringgit because the debit entry in the returns inwards account has been overstated by 3,000 ringgit. Therefore, this error causes the trial balance to be out of balance. So when it is out of balance, the next thing we can know is that this error is recorded in the suspense account. So if the returns inwards account has been overstated by 3,000 ringgit, how do we correct it? We should just reverse the 3,000 ringgit out of the returns inwards account. Right? To do that, we'll just credit the returns inwards account with 3,000 ringgit. Now, for instance, let's say the correct figure should be 63 ringgit. If this 63 ringgit, this total has been overstated by 3,000 ringgit, so it will become 3063. And the 3063 would have been posted to the debit side of the returns inwards account, 3063. Now, in order to correct the figure back to 63 ringgit, we'll just credit this returns inwards accounts with 3,000 ringgit. All right. So therefore, the journal entry, what the credit entry is, credit the returns inwards account with 3,000 ringgit. So let's do it. We credit the returns inwards. We credit it with 3,000 ringgit. So where does the debit go? Now we said just now this error causes the trial balance to be out of balance and the error is recorded in the suspense account. So therefore we debit the suspense account. So when the error causes the trial balance to be out of balance, the double entry involves the suspense account. So that we debit the suspense account. Oops, sorry. With 3,000 ringgit. Okay, that's done. And error number 4, a check for 946 ringgit being rental received from Fabulous Enterprise has only been entered in the cash book. Okay, there's only one entry. It's been recorded in the cash book only. It's been debited in the cash book only. So there's a debit entry, but there is no credit entry. So let's ask the question, does this error cause the trial balance to be out of balance? The answer is yes. There's a debit entry, but there's no credit entry. And therefore, this error is recorded in the suspense account. And therefore, when we come to do the journal entry correction, well, the double entry will involve the suspense account. Okay, let's do journal entry number 4. Now, this is money received from Fabulous Enterprise being rental. So if we have done this double entry correctly, what would it have been? We would have debited the cash book and credited the rental income. All right. So we have already debited the cash book correctly, but we have not credited the rental income, and therefore we credit the rental income. Rental received with 946 ringgit. So where's the debit entry? Of course, the debit entry will go to the suspense account. Okay, so we've completed part A of part B, KSL Enterprise. Now we can do part B, prepare the suspense account. Alright, we have done a bit of the suspense account here already as workings. So why not we just copy the suspense account here to part B. Okay. Now remember to constantly save your files. So I'll save my file now. So let's go through our journal entries. So we've done 1 and 2. Alright, perhaps now we should change the numbers here. So it is 2, we'll just say 2 rather than 1. Okay, now journal entries 3, debit suspense accounts with 3,000. Alright, 3. Now these numbers are not representing double entries, but just the journal numbers. 3 is debit, which is returns inwards 3,000 ringgit. All right, and then number 4, suspense account. Now something is not quite right here, so I can't clear the suspense account now that I haven't done number 4 yet, so let's do number 4, rental. All right, debit, rental received, which is 946 ringgit. So something is not right here. I have all the figures on the debit side of the suspense account, so how can I clear the suspense account? So obviously I either misunderstand the first sentence or the question is not clear. The trial balance of KSL Enterprise as at 31st January 2020 showed a difference of 5,700 ringgit more on the credit side. So when it says that, obviously it seems to say that 5,700 more on the credit side of the trial balance, and then it says which was posted to a suspense account. So I would argue that the question is not written properly, but doesn't matter. If in the exam I misunderstood what the question says, it doesn't matter here, because we know the suspense account, if we've done everything correctly, has to come to zero, right? It has to have a zero balance. So let's say this is supposed to be on the credit side. All right, so brought down 5,700 ringgit, and let's see what happens. All right, the debit total is exactly 5,700, so therefore we know the question means that this credit side means the credit side of the suspense account. Okay, so we have successfully completed part B of writing up the suspense account. Revision test number 2, question 4. Prepare the revised cash book as at 31st January 2020. And B. Prepare the bank reconciliation statement as at 31st January 2020. Alright, so we are required to write up the cash book. Okay, let's see what the question says. As at 31st January 2020, the cash book of ELSA has a debit balance of 6,353 ringgit, but the bank statement received showed a credit balance of 2,170 ringgit. The following transactions cause the difference in the balances. Okay, we'll record the transactions as we go along. Right, I've got the T accounts ready here, and the cash book has a debit balance. So Elsa has money in the bank account. Debit balance brought down. Oh no, this is the closing balance as at 31st January 2020. Okay, this is as at 31st January 2020. 6353. But this balance is not final because there are all these adjustments, these transactions, and some of the transactions have to be recorded in the cash book. That's why we are asked to prepare a revised cash book as at 31st January 2020. Alright, so number 1, a check for 1,225 ringgit received from trade receivable was deposited into the bank account but not yet credited by the bank. Okay, this is an uncredited check. So this has been received from trade receivable and is been deposited into the bank. Therefore, we assume that it has been recorded in the cash book, only that the bank has not shown this sum of money on the bank statements. So this is a bank reconciliation item. So I might as well start doing record the bank reconciliation statement transactions as we go along. Okay, then I can have B here. bank reconciliation statement as at 31st January 2020. And so we always start with balance as per bank statements. At 31st January 2020. And it is, well, this is the credit balance shown on the bank statements, meaning it is money belonging to Elsa, right? So Elsa has money in the bank account, and that's why it is a credit balance shown on the bank statement. So 2170. Okay. Then we have the standard format. We say add uncredited checks and less unpresented checks. Add uncredited checks. Okay, there's only one uncredited check, so I would say uncredited check, singular. It is 1225. Okay. Transaction number 2, a standing order for monthly rental payment of 5,250 ringgit has not been recorded in the cash book. Right? This is a payment, but since it's a standing order, the bank was making the payment on behalf of Elsa, and Elsa will not know until the bank informs Elsa that the transaction has been done. So the transaction has been done. Well, since the bank earlier on did not inform Elsa, so Elsa didn't know about it, and therefore Elsa did not record this payment in the cash book. Now Elsa has received the notification from the bank. Elsa knows that this amount has been missed out, so therefore we need to record this amount in the cash book. It is a payment, and therefore it's going to be recorded on the credit side of the cash book. So this is note number 2. Right. Standing order, I'm going to use short form SO. Rental paid. It is 5250. Alright. Third transaction. Bank overdraft interest of 105 ringgit were not recorded in the cash book. Well, since this is not recorded in the cash book, we'll just go ahead to record it. So transaction number 3. Bank OD. Right, OD is a common short form for overdraft. OD interest. $105. Okay. And transaction number 4, a check issued for salary amounting to 1,837 has not been presented for payment. Okay, this is an unpresented check. So we less unpresented check. And this is a subtraction, and therefore I would like to use the minus sign, which is 1837. Now transaction number 5, interest on fixed deposit received amounting to 875 ringgit was directly credited into the bank account on 31st January 2019. That is the last day of the previous accounting year. This amount was missed out for one whole year. It was directly credited into the bank account, meaning the bank put this sum of money, 875 ringgit, into Elsa's bank account. Well, since this one was done by the bank, Elsa would not know about it until the bank notified Elsa. But apparently this amount of money has been missed out, has escaped Elsa's attention for 1 year. Right, but it doesn't matter since it has not been recorded in the cash book. We'll just go ahead to record it. Alright, but this is money received, therefore it's going to be recorded on the debit side of the cash book. So transaction number 5, it is FB interest received 875 ringgit. And transaction number 6, a check issued for 350 ringgit had been recorded as 35 in the cash book. So this is wrong. Well, what's the difference then? What's the error? Oh, 350 minus 35. Well, the difference is 315 ringgit. This check issued has been under-recorded, understated by 315 ringgit. This is a payment, alright, and it has been recorded already up there on the credit side of the cash book before this balance was brought down. So it has been recorded. Now after we've calculated this balance brought down, we realize that Elsa realized that it's been under recorded by 315 ringgit, and therefore we can just go ahead to record the difference. So therefore it is number 6. Okay, so I should show the working. 350 minus 35. 350 minus 35, 315. Alright, so we've gone through all the transactions. Now we can calculate the results. Let's calculate the results. Alright, the debit total is greater than the credit total, so we are going to have a debit balance brought down. So carry it down, and we are still at 31st January 2020. Revised equals this one minus 5250 minus 505 minus 315, so 1558. So we've got, then I've got balance brought down. So since this balance is final already, we've corrected it, so we can bring down the balance 1 day after the previous closing date. So it's going to be on 1st February 2020, which is first day of the following month. Alright, now we can also finish the bank reconciliation statement. And this is 1558, same as the cash book balance, so you can write down balance as per, or to be consistent, I just use the short form balance as per cash book. Lovely. So the beauty of this type of question is that we can know that we've done the question correctly when the cash book balance is the same as the cash book balance in the bank reconciliation statement. Good. Let's move on to part B here. Section B rather. Okay, section B, we are required to calculate all these ratios. This should be a straightforward question. Calculating the ratios should be easy. We are asked to state the formula and calculate the following ratios for leisure enterprise. Leisure enterprise. And I should write down Elsa here. A gross profit margin. And I can say it's equals to gross profit divided by sales multiplied by 100%. So we've got to state the formula, and this is what I emphasized when I was doing the tutorial questions with you last week on ratio analysis. We should always state the formula. Okay, now we have got to work out the gross profit. The gross profit is sales minus cost of sales. Right, so it is sales, which is 550000 minus the cost of sales is 273000, right? 273000, and then divided by sales 550000, and then multiply by 100%. So this is our working. And therefore it is equal to 550 minus 273 divided by 550 multiplied 100. So it is 50.36%. Okay, part B, the net profit margin. Net profit margin equals net profit before tax divided by sales multiplied by 100%. Okay, we've got to work out the net profit. We've got the gross profit, alright. So it is net profit is gross profit minus the expenses. So sales minus cost of sales minus gives us a gross profit, and then less the administration expenses, alright, less the distribution costs, and that's it, and we'll get the net profit. So, well, we can do that in under the working section to show the workings, or I can do it straight away here. So, okay, maybe I'll just say net profit equals 550 less 273000 less alright, okay, so I think I'll just show some workings. Alright, I'll do the workings here. W1, okay, sales 550 and less cost of sales 273. Alright, then I've got gross profit then I less admin expenses 60,000 ringgit. Okay, I'm going to use negative figures all the way through. This is only workings. Distribution costs minus 28,000. That's it. There are no more expenses. Okay, my net profit. So 189, so it is equals to 189,000. So I'll C workings 1 divided by sales, which is 550000, and then multiply by 100%, equals 189,000 divided by 550000 multiplied by 100, which is 34.36%. C, current ratio. Alright, let's do C. Current ratio equals current assets divided by current liabilities. So therefore, it is our current assets closing inventory 157,000, and cash at bank are then and trade receivables. Okay, so perhaps it's better to do the workings. Add them up, add the figures up. All right, so we have trade, no, closing inventories 157. Closing inventory 157,000, and we have trade receivable here. Trade receivable. Okay, that's trade receivable, which is 90,000, and then we have cash at bank. So we've got to be very careful, or personally I want to be very careful just in case I miss out something here. All right, let's run through it again. So we've got closing inventory, right? Opening inventory is not relevant. It's closing inventory as current asset, and trade receivable and cash at bank. Fine. So 297,000 ringgit, and current liabilities are just the trade payables, 70,000 ringgit. So we have 297. All right. So it is 297,000, and I indicated that it is the details, the workings can be found in workings number 2 divided by 70,000 ringgit current liabilities, and so equals to 297,000 divided by 70. All right, 4.24. Now let's go back to last week's tutorial questions. I kept emphasizing that we need to indicate the unit of measurement. All right, so here it is quite clear already. This is actually in percentage. All right, but what I normally tell my students to do in the case like this, I can indicate the unit of measurement by just typing the unit of measurement in the cell beside the numbers. So it is percentage, so that should be clear. And this is percentage again. All right, so this is number of times, so I can just leave blank. There should be no unit of measurement for current ratio. Okay, then okay, I think this is typing error again. From ABC and then ABC again, it should be DEF. But it doesn't matter as long as we write the formula of the. Okay, then trade. Okay, trade receivable turnover period equals, and this time it is trade payable turnover period. So TB turnover period equals trade payable divided by purchases multiplied by 365 days. So trade payable is 70,000. So divided by purchases. Do we have purchases? Yes, we are given purchases, which is 300,000 ringgit. Right. 300,000. Then multiply by 365 days. So equals 70,000 divided by 300 multiplied by 365, and then days. And the last ratio is the inventory turnover. All right, so inventory turnover. It doesn't ask for days or times, so I'll just leave it as times rather than days. Inventory turnover, then it is equal to cost of goods sold, cost of sales, right, divided by average inventory. So are we given the cost of sales? Yes, we are given the cost of sales, which is 273,000 ringgit. So 273,000 divided by average inventory. So then I would say average inventory is opening inventory, which is 130,000, plus the closing inventory, which is 157,000, divided by 2. All right. So it's equal to 273,000 divided by 130,000 plus 157,000, and then divide by 2. Well, it doesn't look very right, so my formula here must have been incorrect, so I should use 2 brackets here. I think I demonstrated this in our last week's tutorials. So this looks more like it. It's 1.9 times. So there's no need, since I've chosen to express the inventory turnover in number of times, there's no unit of measurement required. So that's it. We've completed question 4 of revision test 2.